Thank you very much for coming today.
You're welcome.
And we know that you are a very successful investor with an amazing background. Can you tell us what is the first thing you are looking at when deciding about investment into a startup?
The first thing I look at is whether or not I think there's an interesting market that the company's addressing. In the part of the world where I live in Silicon Valley, we have a saying which is, even bad teams can succeed in good markets, and even good teams fail in bad markets. So the first thing I look at is the market.
Like a blue ocean strategy or something like that?
Could be.
Okay, so would you ever invest in a Russian startup?
I might. One of the things that, there's several things that several questions that I would want to ask before doing that. One is, of course, what's the market like? The second is, what is their technology approach to the market problem they're trying to solve? And the third is, what are the people like? Because when you do early stage investing like I do, while I said the first thing that I look at is the market, the most important thing I look at is the people. And one of the challenges that Russian startups have is the whole infrastructure to support the growth of startups is still haphazard here or spotty. And that will change over time. If you go back 50 years, the infrastructure to support startups in Silicon Valley didn't exist, and there weren't very many startups. So it simply takes time. It takes examples of success, which is little known but very important factor in the growth of a startup ecosystem. But I would probably want some kind of connection to the U.S. or other markets for a startup before I would invest.
But do you find the Russian market prospective?
I don't know the Russian market well enough.
Okay, thank you. And how do you think, what are the most important skills for a business investor, for a business angel?
Luck.
Thank you. Some other skills?
I think you have to have a good intuition about the market. I think you have to have a good intuition about the approach that the startup is taking to solve the problem. And I think you have to be, and I actually think this is the most important thing, I think you have to be a good judge of people. Most companies, certainly in my experience, most companies that I have invested in that have been successful have not been successful at the thing they told me they were going to do when I first met them. And so it's much more important to invest in people who can adapt to changed circumstances or suffer a setback and reset their course and go forward in a different direction and be successful. It's very hard to know when you invest as early as I do. I'm quite often the first investor in a company. Exactly how that business is going to develop. Very few businesses develop in a straight line. So when you know that, it tends to make you focus more on who the people are.
Okay. And how do you think, what is the next big thing in e-commerce?
I think the next big thing in e-commerce is mobile. So both smartphones and tablets. And there's some evidence of this already. Mobile commerce, as it's called, is taking over. One of the companies where I'm an investor in, a New York-based company called Fab.com, which is a e-commerce company that sells items of high design, is in the first 2 months of releasing its app on the iPhone and the iPad, had about 40% of its traffic on mobile. And now, at certain times of day, a majority of its traffic is now come from mobile devices.
Okay. And some general questions about Skolkovo. Do you like it? Do you like our campus?
I've only been here for about an hour, but I've had a very pleasant time since I've been here.
And how much do you know about Skolkovo Business School?
A little bit.
And how do you think, is it prospective? Does it have a future?
I think it does. I think this kind of activity is very important. The development of a robust startup ecosystem will take time, and it's a lot of different factors go into creating success. We, in Silicon Valley, we assume success because we've been doing this for 40 or 50 years. But 40 or 50 years ago, Silicon Valley didn't exist. And after 20 years, and Silicon Valley, after 40 years in a culture that has been free enterprise for 300 years, is different than in Russia, where you've had a culture of free enterprise for maybe 20 years.